She walked into the lobby like any other guest. White blouse, simple heels, calm, collected. But behind her silence was the power to fire everyone in that building. "Excuse me," she said softly, stepping up to the front desk. The receptionist didn't even look up. "Check-ins aren't till 3, he snapped, then finally glanced at her. His expression shifted. Disgust. "I'm sorry, miss," he said slowly, emphasizing the word miss like poison. "This hotel has a dress code for guests. No offense, but we don't usually take walk-ins." She blinked. Just once. The chandelier above them sparkled as if mocking the tension. "I'm not here to check in," she replied. Her voice remained steady. The man scoffed. "Then maybe you're lost?" He glanced at her white blouse like it offended him. "Housekeeping's on the other side." Someone behind her laughed. Another staff member whispered, "She's probably trying to sneak a look at the lobby. They do that sometimes." No one noticed her jaw tighten, or the fact that her fingers curled slightly around the hotel folder in her hand. This wasn't the first time. And sadly, she knew it wouldn't be the last. But today was different. Because today, she had returned not as the girl begging for a job behind the kitchen doors, not as the intern fetching coffee, not even as the silent observer during board meetings. She was the board now, the CEO, the owner, the woman who signed every paycheck in that building. But they didn't know that yet. And for the next few minutes, she let them live in their ignorance, just to see how far they'd go. The man clicked his tongue. "If you're not here for housekeeping, I'll have to ask you to leave. Guests are complaining." She raised an eyebrow. "What guests?" The lobby was nearly empty, but the lie didn't matter to him. Only her skin, her simplicity, her presence. "Security's right around the corner, miss," he added smugly. "I can call them if you're causing discomfort." She didn't flinch, didn't even blink. Instead, she looked him in the eye and slowly placed the folder on the counter. Inside was the purchase contract, the deed, the papers that made her the sole owner of the $82 million property. And his boss. Her name was Janelle Carter, 30 years old, Harvard graduate, founder of Carter Lux Hospitality Group, a name whispered in Forbes, feared in boardrooms, but ignored at her own front desk, born in Atlanta, raised by a single mom who worked 2 jobs, nurse by day, waitress by night. Janelle learned early that the world didn't offer grace, especially not to little black girls with big dreams. At 14, she cleaned motel rooms with her aunt. By 16, she'd memorized hotel operating manuals. Not because she had to, but because she wanted to own one. They laughed at her then, called her the cleaning girl with a fantasy. But dreams, when fed with fire, don't die. They burn louder. By 25, she launched her first boutique hotel in Miami. By 29, she quietly bought 5 more. And this year, she'd acquired the Grand Lucent, a 5-star property in Charleston. Historic, prestigious, the kind of hotel that made headlines and snubbed people who looked like her. She chose not to announce the acquisition publicly. She didn't need the press. She wanted the truth. To see how deep the bias ran, to feel it, not read about it. So today, Janelle walked into her own lobby. No entourage, no power suit, no "I'm the boss" speech. Just a black woman in a white blouse, with eyes that saw everything. The staff didn't recognize her. They weren't trained to. They were trained to recognize wealth, skin tone, accent, attitude. And Janelle? She stripped herself of all symbols, letting the system speak for itself. The man at the front desk, Ethan, 26, junior manager, had only been with the hotel 6 months. Came from a family that never had to worry. Thought charm was power, and that authority only came in certain forms. To him, Janelle was invisible, not because she lacked presence, but because his lens was clouded. She watched him. Watched the way his nose curled slightly when she spoke. Watched how quickly he looked over her shoulder for someone more important. Behind her, Angela, the head of housekeeping, walked by and froze. Her eyes widened. She knew. Everyone in back of house knew what Janelle looked like. They'd had the privilege of her quiet visits, her unexpected check-ins, her habit of sitting with janitors during lunch. Janelle gave Angela a soft nod. Angela quickly lowered her gaze, said nothing. That was the unspoken rule in places like this. Let things play out. Let the masks drop naturally. And so Janelle stood there, in the grand lobby she owned, surrounded by chandeliers and lies, watching the theater of disrespect unfold, not angry, not broken, but ready. Ethan rolled his eyes and waved to the security guard nearby. "She's been loitering for 10 minutes, he said loudly, not even caring if she heard. "Probably lost, or looking for free Wi-Fi." A couple in designer clothes glanced over, whispered something, laughed. Janelle felt it. The sting, the heat rising in her chest, but her face still calm. Then Ethan did something he'd regret for the rest of his career. He leaned over the counter, lowered his voice like he was offering her a favor. "If you're looking for work, sweetheart, try across the street. They're always hiring for kitchen staff." Sweetheart. The word dropped like acid, burning years of hard work, erasing decades of sacrifice in one condescending syllable. Still, she said nothing, just nodded, as if taking mental notes. Ethan misunderstood her silence. He chuckled. Didn't mean to offend, he smirked. Just being real. Janelle opened her mouth to speak, but then came the final cut. A woman, blonde, clipboard in hand, heels clicking, walked over. Samantha, the operations manager, mid-40s, efficient, cold. "What's going on here?" she asked Ethan. "She's causing a scene," he lied. "Standing around, making guests uncomfortable." Samantha didn't question it. She turned to Janelle with the practiced smile of someone used to dismissing complaints. "I'm sorry, ma'am, but unless you're a guest or have an appointment, I'll have to ask you to leave the premises." Janelle finally spoke, her voice low, even. "I do have an appointment." "With who?" Samantha asked, raising a brow. "With you." There was a pause. Samantha blinked. I wasn't informed." "You were," Janelle said calmly. 3 emails last week. But it's fine. I'll wait." The front desk went quiet. Even Ethan looked confused. Angela, still watching from the hallway, turned away. Couldn't bear to see it. She'd seen this too often. A black woman dressed simply gets treated like a problem, like noise, until proven otherwise. And sometimes, not even then. Janelle stepped back from the desk, took a seat in the lobby, felt the sting in her throat, brief, sharp, but let it pass. She'd built empires from worse. She'd eaten humiliation like breakfast for years. This question mark was just another note in a long song. But what they didn't know was that the final verse belonged to her. Janelle sat quietly in the velvet armchair. The irony wasn't lost on her. $20,000 chairs, yet no space for dignity. She took out her phone. No anger in her movements. Only precision. One swipe, and she opened her camera, tilted slightly, framed the desk. She hit record, not for revenge, for documentation. Ethan still stood at the desk, laughing with another staffer. Samantha walked past her again, still avoiding eye contact. Janelle didn't flinch. She filmed for exactly 52 seconds, then saved the video, attached it to an email. Subject: unfiltered first impression, the Grand Lucent. Recipients: her private PR team, the board, and her legal advisor. She pressed send. Then she stood, walked across the lobby like a guest heading to the elevator. The guard glanced at her but said nothing. He'd seen her type before, or so he thought. She reached the executive office hallway, swiped her access card. Click. The door opened. Inside, the silence was thick. Mahogany desk, framed awards, blueprints on the wall, her name etched in gold on the glass. Janelle Carter, owner and CEO. She sat down, logged into the internal hotel system, clicked live surveillance, watched the front desk from a dozen angles, noted how many guests were ignored, how many were greeted, depending on what they wore, how they looked. She took notes, detailed, cold, surgical. Janelle then opened the staff evaluation files. Ethan, Samantha, reviewed their last training reviews. HR complaints filed, minor, but patterns existed. She didn't smile. This wasn't personal, it was systemic, and she was done being polite about it. 10 minutes later, her assistant knocked. Maya, a young black woman in a navy suit, stepped in. "They're asking for the new regional director in conference room B," Maya said, smirking. "Perfect," Janelle replied. "Let's give them a welcome." Maya handed her the printed schedule. Under 2:30 p.m., new director introduction, Ethan's name was listed as the presenter. Delicious. Janelle closed her laptop, took a deep breath, then stood, not with rage, but with authority. The kind they couldn't ignore, the kind that didn't need to yell, the kind they'd remember. Conference room B gleamed with polished wood and tension. Ethan adjusted his tie, checked his reflection on the screen. This was his moment. He cleared his throat as the staff began to trickle in. Front desk, concierge, housekeeping leads, Samantha. Everyone who mattered, or so they thought. "All right, everyone," Ethan began, voice cocky. "We're about to meet the new regional director. Big deal. So smile, stand straight, and..." Click. The side door opened, and in walked Janelle. Not in heels, not in a power suit, still in her white blouse. But now, everyone noticed her. Conversations stopped. Chairs shuffled. Angela, the only one not surprised, stood silently in the back, lips pressed tight. Janelle walked straight to the front. Her steps calm. Her energy unshakable. She didn't introduce herself. Instead, she picked up the remote and played a video. The footage was grainy but clear. Ethan at the front desk, sneering, mocking. Samantha brushing her off, guests watching, the laughter, the assumptions. Silence fell like a stone. Samantha looked horrified. Ethan blinked, confused, then slowly began to realize. Janelle turned off the screen. No theatrics, no yelling. "My name," she said, "is Janelle Carter." Pause. "I'm not the new director. I'm the owner." Mouths opened. No one spoke. "I own this hotel and 5 others across the East Coast." She let the weight of that truth settle. Not for ego, for correction. "This morning," she continued, "I walked in to observe, not to trap, not to embarrass, just to see who we really are, when we think no one's watching." She turned to Ethan. "You saw a woman who didn't fit your idea of wealth. You made assumptions. You offered me a job in housekeeping." He paled. She turned to Samantha. You backed him up. Without question. You dismissed me without even asking my name. Samantha looked down. Janelle inhaled. Calm. Deep. But here's the thing, she said. You didn't fail me. You failed this brand, this mission. She picked up a folder. Effective immediately, Ethan, your employment is terminated. HR will escort you out. Ethan's mouth opened to protest. Janelle raised one hand. You'll be paid for the week. That's more grace than you gave me. Then, to Samantha. You'll be placed on probation. You'll retake diversity, equity, and bias training. Twice. And every manager under you will do the same. The room was dead silent. No one moved. Then she turned to Angela, held up a small box, a name tag, gold-plated. Angela Williams, lobby director. Angela's eyes filled, hands trembling. You've seen this place from the bottom up, Janelle said. Now I want guests to see it through your eyes. Angela nodded, still in shock. Janelle stepped back, looked around. I didn't come here to punish. I came here to change the culture, and that starts today. No applause, no cheers, just respect earned. By the next morning, the story had spread, not because Janelle wanted it to, but because truth travels faster than PR. A hotel guest had recorded the moment Janelle revealed her identity, uploaded it with the caption, "She owned the hotel. They treated her like dirt." By noon, it had over 2.3 million views. News outlets picked it up. Business Insider, CNN, Essence. Some praised her professionalism. Others questioned how deep-rooted bias could still exist, even in five-star service. Back at the Grand Lucent, change wasn't just coming. It had already started. Angela's first day as lobby director wasn't easy. Staff eyes followed her, unsure if she'd act differently. She didn't. She led with dignity, but firmer now. Her first order? Revamp the guest approach policy. No more silent judgment, she told the team. We see people, we serve people, all people. Samantha, humbled, returned from her first training session changed. Less rigid, less rehearsed. She sat with front desk staff during lunch, something she'd never done before. Meanwhile, Janelle made 3 changes to hotel policy. Bias response. Hotline. Staff could anonymously report microaggressions, no matter how small. Blind application review. Hiring managers would no longer see names or photos during first-round reviews. Monthly empathy drills. Staff would rotate positions for a day. Managers as cleaners, front desk as bellhops, to remember what respect feels like at every level. The results were immediate. Guest satisfaction scores rose. Online reviews praised the staff's warmth. Repeat bookings increased. But more than that. Something unspoken shifted. Employees who had once felt invisible now felt seen, valued, protected. One night, as Janelle walked through the lobby, a young intern approached her. Black, barely 20, eyes full of fire. "Thank you," she whispered, "for not yelling, for not quitting, for showing us we can lead without changing who we are." Janelle smiled. No one should have to shrink to be accepted. The intern nodded, and Janelle walked on, quietly, gracefully, through a hotel that now truly belonged to her. Not because of the deed, but because the people inside finally understood her worth. Weeks later, the hotel lobby felt different, not because the marble changed or the chandeliers shone brighter, but because the energy shifted. Guests walked in and were greeted with real warmth, not filtered through assumptions, not measured by clothes, skin, or accents. The staff moved with new purpose, Not out of fear, but out of respect. And Janelle? She came in often, sometimes in heels, sometimes in sneakers, sometimes in tailored suits, sometimes in her favorite white blouse. Each time she was greeted with the same sentence. "Welcome back, Miss Carter." She didn't need titles anymore. She didn't need to prove anything, because she had already done the hardest thing. She made them see. Not just her, but every woman who looked like her. Every overlooked candidate. Every silent fighter who walked into a room and was measured by the wrong metrics. One evening, Janelle stood near the entrance and watched as an elderly black couple checked in. The front desk staff offered them warm tea, asked if they needed assistance with bags, smiled with genuine care. Janelle's chest tightened, not from pain, but from something rarer. Peace. Angela walked up beside her. "They're from North Carolina celebrating their 40th anniversary," she said. "They said this place felt safe." Janelle nodded. "It is now." She turned to leave, then paused, looked back at the golden hotel sign that now gleamed with more than money. It gleamed with meaning, and in that moment, one truth echoed quietly through her. Power isn't just owning the building, it's transforming the foundation it stands on, because sometimes the loudest justice is delivered in silence, with poise, with truth, and with patience that no one sees coming.